It is May 30th. Welcome back, Durrick. Good to see you again. So you have now completed week 2 of round 2. So how are you feeling?
Flat. No, I'm a bit drained this week. I shouldn't say that. I should say that. Today I'm just like, wow, I've been through a week. It's been a pretty impressive week. There's been some really good results with blood tests and report comparisons from when I first arrived to where I am now. And the Soda one, the treatment that I've been talking to you about is one of the key treatments. I've had really good response this week. So everything's on the up. Everything's on the up. It's pretty exciting. One of the doctors even said, look, you've made huge progress because, you know, I used to be a little bit greenish yellow, and that's the colour. And they said you've got colour in your body and face. So that's it's a good thing, and it stays there. It's not a temporary thing. It's not me getting hot. I'm feeling better, and even my mindset this week, I'm more thinking about the future. Like, what am I going to do now? Like, I've only got 3 weeks left in North Carolina here. Hopefully we get a bit of sightseeing in, but what is it that I'm going to be doing when I get home? And just to jump ahead a little bit, we can talk about this later, but I really want to get home and catch up with people. And I'd love to get to Canada. I've got a lot of friends ask me to get to Canada, but the world situation's a bit tricky at the moment. But I want to get home, catch up with family and friends, and just love them, I guess. Just be in company of people. It's been a long trip over here I've been here nearly 2.5 months, and it's just me and my brother. And as much as I love him and he loves me, you know, family sometimes gets some disagreements. I haven't really. We've been really good, but it's just that external stimulus of being outside, doing new things, and everybody can experience that because of what we've just been through in the world with the last few months. But I'm doing really well. Like I feel like I've got through the hardest part of the battle, and now it's just a time of just a bit of tidy up, rearrangement, and let that body heal all fully and just carry on. That's what I'm at.
It must be really encouraging to get back some positive results that reinforce how you're feeling.
It is. So the key results I'm talking about is the cancer panel that you do when you first turn up. They do one, and then we did one at the end of my week off that I've just had 3 weeks ago now. They did another cancer panel there, and we got the results back now. And my lymphocytes, my natural killer cells, are all on the upward trend, which is really good. And that's when the body's working properly. So in terms of getting rid of toxins and cells that are damaged or unwanted in the system, so they're on the up, not quite within the range of what a normal person has, but certainly on the up and a positive trend, and across the board. And all my blood results, I'm doing good. The only thing that's down is the iron, but that makes sense because I'm doing chelation, so they're pulling the iron out. And so that's nothing to worry about. It's just a bit lower than normal, not hugely lower than normal. But it's just to keep an eye on it, because if you get too low, obviously you've got to do something about it. But it's just a matter of with the chelation that'll be coming out. So just observe it. Yeah, okay, that's where it is. Nothing dramatic's changing. I'm still within Curie of where I was when I first turned up. So it's just a matter of keeping on going. So I'm pretty excited about that. Though that same cancer panel test, just after I finished the last week of treatment in the roundabout, I go on the Wednesday after my treatment, and they'll do another blood test. In a few weeks, we'll have another analysis to be able to compare to. So yeah, it's all doing well. It's doing really well.
So now that you're on I guess quite literally the home stretch, it sounds like you've done a little bit of thinking about what that's going to look like as far as spending time with friends and family. So curious a little bit more about, the extent of which you've thought about returning and what that might look like.
Yeah, put it simply, I'm chasing possibilities. There's like with my experience, I've got information to share with people, because the cancer journey, to put it that way, it's challenging, but it doesn't have to be as challenging as we make it. There's things that I've learned about treatments and stuff that are useful and that other people can do in New Zealand because they are available in New Zealand. I guess my priority is I want to share with people what's happened while I've been over here. I mean, I've done the videos, but you know, you can have better communications one-on-one sometimes because you can ask different questions and things. So that in New Zealand, it's interesting because I guess New Zealand, I haven't been home for a while, certainly not since the shutdown, but there's massive change going on in every country in this world, I guess, at the moment. And so just knowing what the landscape is before I get there is a bit difficult. But I don't know, to speak at a different level, I just feel this real, in my chest, this excitement to get home and meet people. And I've had some people communicate with me about possibilities or just things that are occurring in New Zealand, developments that lend to possibilities to be able to find employment, to be able to assist in developing some great projects, to be able to share, really. In my own family, extended family, there's some significant changes going on at the moment with where people live and stuff like that. So it's a clean slate. And I guess that's my biggest excitement, is that my life to date has been very much down one path of, you know, get a good education, get a job, and it's been chasing security. And now I kind of want to chase the unknown, because that's where the excitement is. And I realize how much of my life I controlled my perspective and how I perceived it and how I acted in it, trying to find certainty, trying to find control so that I know what's going to happen next. And it's not that you don't do that sort of stuff, because, you know, there's some practicalities with that, but there's a whole lot of excitement that comes with not knowing what the next step is. I don't fully know what the next step is in New Zealand, but what I do know now is, and this is all the emotional work, not specifically just related to the treatment, I know who I am now. I know more of what I have to offer. I've had contrast all the way through about how I thought I was versus how I was. And obviously discussions around when you get told by a doctor that you don't have much time left on this planet, your perspective changes. And so I've had a realization of how much time we spend in fear and how much time we spend in trying to create that certainty in our life, when actually the excitement of being alive, of being a human being, is around what's next. What's next? Because you want some certainty, but you want some uncertainty, some variety to stimulate you. And in the way we live our lives at the moment, this is a generalized statement, we've very much taken a lot of the excitement out of our lives. You know, you get a job, you work hard, you get retired, and you pay off the house, and then you let your kids go through the system. Nothing wrong with that system at all. If that's what you want to do, then go for it. If that's your highest calling that makes you the happiest, go for it. But there's more to life than that. There's this whole aspect of who we are as human beings that I think we've lost as a population. We've lost. There's certainly key indicators of people out there that have got these things, but just the excitement of being able to create a society that you want to live in, to create social structures that resolve problems rather than just perpetuating them, and that sort of thing, and having freedoms. That's why we're alive, to feel that rush of excitement when something goes your way, and to feel that despair when something goes against you, and realize it's part of the human experience. And I guess when I go home, which is what your original question was, it's just about not having to have this fixed view of how it must be. Yeah, I want somewhere to put my head at night, and I want some food on the table. But man, I can create anything, because that's what we all can do. We can create that life we want. And that's what excites me about going home.
During the process of doing these videos, have you been hearing from people with health challenges at all? And do you find that you're able to kind of speak to their experience regardless of whether it's cancer or not? Because like when I hear you talking about this, it even seems that it seems to me that what you're talking about is applicable to people regardless of whether they're having health issues or not. I mean, the idea of having a shift of perspective that's going to fundamentally change your ability to live a life that makes you happy and that is satisfactory and that completes a sense of purpose or mission seems to me to be what you're really talking about. And if that is facilitated because you're going through a health challenge, fine, but that's not the only, like, that doesn't seem to be the end all and be all of your specific sort of interest in sharing with people. It seems to be about more than that, about a life of abundance.
It is. What sort of world do we want to live in? I want to live in a world where we're free, where we get to choose what we want to do, how we spend our time, where we are encouraging other people to grow, where we are responsible for the environment, not by setting out specific actions, but because of the relationship that we have with our environment, realizing that if without an environment, without a healthy environment, we don't have health. We've got to find other ways to bring health into our life. And I kind of think we live in that society at the moment. There's this need to have a system to bring health to us, when in reality it's right around us, but we just aren't aware of that. At any point in our lives, we have the choice to be happy or not. And over the years, I've said to people, my whole goal, it took me a few years to figure this out, but my whole goal in life is to really just be happy. And what does happiness mean to me? I don't know. But when I walk around every day and I just feel like, this is cool, man. When I look at a plant and go, look how beautiful that is. And me and my brother, we go for a walk around the pond every day when we can, just to make sure we get some sunlight and some nature. There's a little lizard that comes out onto one of the power boxes that we say get A to. There's a hawk that flies around and sits in the tree, and we'll be walking along. We'll just stand there and look up this tree and go, wow. And the hawk doesn't fly away. He's only about 3 meters from us. And he's a good sized bird, and he just sits there. And instead of in the past going, well, I need to be careful, or something might happen, I'm just looking at him and go, look at his feathers. Look at his claws, his eyes, man, they just look straight through you, his beak. And he'll have mockingbirds will come down. He'll be sitting in a tree because obviously he's after a feed. He'll be sitting in the tree and these mockingbirds come in and they'll just try and knock him off his perch so he flies away. And he just ignores them. He just looks around like this, and these birds will come and literally hit him on the back, and he'll just keep looking. He doesn't fall off the tree. He's so stable. I mean, look at that for an example of how do you live your life. When you are just sitting there and all these people want to throw stuff at you to knock you off your perch, and you're just confident and you don't care about that because it's nothing. They can't do anything to you. And I guess that's, to me, I've learned this clearly over these last few months, is that there are some people in this world doing amazing stuff for the benefit of everybody. And yet we perceive it as not being for the benefit of everybody because they have a viewpoint that's slightly different to what the mainstream or the mass people believe. And I look at the power in that and go, wow, look at those people living the life that they're passionate about. These people didn't stick their hand up and say, I'm this person, I'm going to go and lead this. They got thrown into this because their life journey took them on this path. And here they are, powerfully standing up, saying there is a different way to make this world better. So they didn't have to go through a chronic illness, but they had to have something in their life that stimulated them to realize there's more for us to be here than just get a job, get married, retire, pass away. That's not what we're here for. It's about full expression. So yeah, the message about how do you live your life is, you don't have to be sick at all. But I want to see everybody having a passionate life. What does it mean to you? If I use the term happiness, somebody might say, well, no, actually it's joy that you're after. No, I'm after happiness because that's a definition that I hold that resonates with me. Joy is that person's comment, but I get where they're coming from because at essence, the feeling or the resonance behind that word, those words, is similar. It's whatever that makes you the happiest about living your life. And so recognizing that difference between us in terms of the way we express, but knowing that we are still wanting the same thing. And if I can relay that back to you and me, you've had a very different background to what I've had in my life. And you've had experiences that I could only ever dream of, really, or not even imagine. And yet here we are connected talking online because I appreciate your perspectives. And you said this in the last video, I think it was. We've gone down these different journeys, but we've ended up in the same place. Self-responsibility, love for the world that you're in, love for yourself. And so those are the things that excite me because when I realized that in my life, life got better. My health got better.
I love the idea, you know, like you just mentioned. I mean, I love sitting and talking to people that are going to challenge my perspective. I'm not, I'm not generally looking for people to agree with me, because that prohibits what I could learn from the situation. So I'm much more drawn to people that allow me to have conversations that challenge me to think differently. And it seems to me that most people are not that way. It feels like to me that most people get very defensive if they feel that another person will not agree with them. And I definitely could say that my life has become a lot more happy when I engage in conversations with people who don't take that posture of defense, of I'm right and I have to defend why I'm right to you. Because I think that being happy is being able to feel like I'm learning through communicating with others. That's a big part of what happiness means to me. And I think it took me, I want to say longer than usual to figure that out, but yet at the same time, that's subjective, because I think a lot of people go through their whole life and never figure that out. And always think that happiness means surrounding myself with a bunch of people who will agree with exactly what I say, because then it will reinforce the illusion that I've got it all figured out and I control the conditions in my life. So I appreciate what you said about our conversations, because you're right. I think from the start that was has always been one of the greatest factors in our relationship, was that there was no illusions that we were the same person.
Tattoos.
there weren't similarities in the typical way where you're like, oh well, we'd get along because of this and this and this, and being able to embrace that kind of relationship with people. I hope anybody watching this just feels encouraged to say that, like, hey, you know what, maybe I should try to approach conversations with people a little less defensively, because it's not about proving who's right. It's about saying, what's your perspective? What does the world look like from your eyes? Because I have no idea what it would look like from your eyes, but if I can learn that, then it's just going to inform me. Whether I agree with you or not, it's going to inform my own perception. And that's more important than having people agree or disagree, So.
If I can just elaborate on that, I had an EVOX session this week. So I missed that the first week because I didn't feel like I needed anything. Nothing was coming up, but the doctors said, let us know when something comes up. And so this week it came up around trust and letting go. And that's where I ended off the first round with the EVOXs. It was just saying, trust the process and let go. And then I sat on it for a few weeks and go, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And so I went back to do the EVOX, the perception reframing, to figure that out. And the information that came through me and my own thoughts in the releasing statement was, well, the context is, in the past, I lived my life trying to appease everybody else. And so when someone would express something different to me, or they'd come at me with a loud voice or whatever, I'd take it personally and go, well, I've done something wrong. Or they don't like me because they have a different opinion, or whatever. Something along those lines would be a thought that's going through my head. And so I'll internalize that and go, what am I doing wrong? Oh, it's all me, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, a diagnosis that puts me in a situation where I'm going through a health challenge. The releasing statement this week around trust was that I have to be the most that I can be. And it's not about setting records of being the best businessman or the sports person. It's about me being the most authentic person I can be. Because when I do that, when I'm truly speaking in my truth and interacting with anybody else in my truth, and that is expressing honestly what I feel, expressing what I see in a situation. And none of us have got it all figured out, but from my perspective, I see this. And then hearing that person with their perspective, contrasting what I've got. the release statement for me was, when I'm most authentic of myself and being all that I can be, I provide contrast and growth for the other person. The same way that person, by their being the most authentic person, provides contrast and growth for me. And that's what I want out of life. I don't want a whole lot of agreement. I don't want us shooting people in wars. I don't want that. But I do want us to be able to have open discussions where we talk about the differences we have and where does that come from. Because what I've noticed is the words that I use, there's a whole lot of different points in our communication process where they can get misperceived or perceived in a different way than I intend. But I can only ever speak from my reference point, not from, say, your reference point, because you've had a different language, a different culture, a different education system. But when we get through what that specific, the words are that we're using and get behind to what the intent is, well, then we can find common ground. And at the end of the day, I hope most people on this planet are actually just here to have a great life. I suspect that's what we're all here for. But so many, speaking for myself and my own experience, I didn't realize that was what I was here for. I thought I was here to be something, or to be the most successful, or have the most cars or the biggest house. I'm not. I'm here to live my life and be the happiest I can be, and whatever that means for anybody else. So what's stopping me from being that? This thing here, this thing in my brain stopped me from achieving that, because I perceive that when somebody reacts to me, I'm doing something wrong and it's my fault. It's not that person. Now, I appreciate that person for speaking up and fully saying what they needed to say, because I don't hate people. I actually love people. I really do. And I want us all to be happy.
Yeah.
So you've got to be all yourself, your full self. Yeah.
I really like what you said about, I'm here to bring contrast to other people, because contrast does not mean conflict, but so often the mind goes there. If we are contrasting each other, it's going to conflict and we're butting heads. And nowhere is it written that that's what it means. that contrast has to lead to conflict. Because I don't think that you're alone as far as in the past where you may have been inclined to think that you had to meet people where they were at and not contrast what they were saying. I think maybe to a large degree even is that many people seem to want to avoid conflict at all costs, and they're afraid that contrast will lead to conflict, so they don't speak up for themselves. Fearing that that's going to lead to some sort of breakdown. I really like that idea that contrast and conflict aren't the same.
Can I just share an example? Like, can I share the tattoo example with?
Yeah.
So one thing I really appreciated about meeting you was obviously your appearance is way different to mine. So I've come from quite a conservative upbringing, I guess, and I know some of yours is as well. But obviously you got tattoos, and so my belief around tattoos was, well, I don't know, they're not very good. You can say a lot of things about those people. And so that was where I was coming from. I'm speaking very simplistically to make my point. But because I was never sure about tattoos. And it wasn't until you and I were having a coffee one day, we were sitting there, well, you're drinking coffee, I'm probably having a cup of tea. but you started to explain what the tattoos meant. I mean, wow, what a story. Like, what a story that's important to you. Now, I couldn't see that because I had interpretations. Tattoos meant this, they meant that. And in reality, my perceptions filtered the way that I looked at you. And then when you told me that, I went, that's cool, because that's something that I would like. I like the reasoning you had behind some of your tattoos as to why they're there, and I go, I get that. And the only difference is, well, you had the courage to go and get a tattoo and put it on your body. I didn't. And I just don't feel like I want to now. But there's no difference between you and me on the inside. We both have this intent to remember parts of our lives and enjoy them because they're meaningful to us, and acknowledge them in some way. And you just have a different way of doing it to me. I can get that. I think you're a cool dude because of that. That's what. The outward perceptions we have and the beliefs we have in our mind prevent us from seeing what's really going on. And that's the journey that I've had over these last couple of years with the diagnosis, is to be more appreciative of that. I don't want us all to be the same. I don't want to see 7 billion Durricks walking around this world because I've got the answer and everybody should just do what I do. How ridiculous. I want to see 7 billion individuals living a life that they're fully happy and thriving in. That's what I want to see. And we can't do that if we're all trying to be the same.
When, I'm curious, hearing you talk now, when you remember, 8 years ago, 2012, you're in Canada. I feel like I'm simplifying the question just to say, how have you changed? Because, that's way too big of a simplification. But how would you describe maybe the most dramatic of differences between the way that you saw yourself in the world 8 years ago and the way that you see yourself in the world now?
To give a simple answer to that, to your simple question, I actually love who I am. I love me for all my foibles, for my bullheadedness. I love me for my need to have more information before I make a decision. I love me for sometimes my slowness and being able to comprehend what information means before I can make a decision on it, whereas other people can get out there and make a whiz-bang decision straight away and it's the right one. I used to be envious of that, but I didn't realize that I make decisions in a different way, therefore it's just a different way of doing it. It's not right or wrong. So when I start to love myself and start to appreciate, and I have to thank Jeannine de Vere for pointing that out to me this week. She's my kinesiologist. She's helped me a lot with the conversation we had this week. When I start to acknowledge who I am and the uniqueness of me, I can see the uniqueness in somebody else. When I see what I've been through and how I've had to live my life to fit in or to get through this challenge, I see it in other people's lives, and it just fills me up with compassion for the other people. And you can see people, I can see people in their lives now having real tough challenges, and I have nothing but compassion for them because I go, that's where I was. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see that it was my perception that was affecting the way I was responding in a situation. But now I can. I don't have to go over there and correct it for them. But when I have a conversation with them, I can hear that person and maybe provide some words that may be able to help them change or shift something. And the other big difference, the more that I love myself, the clearer my boundaries have got. And so therefore, I can walk through life a lot more stable than I was. Instead of being at the whim of what everything's happening around me, I can make clearer decisions to, this is what I want in my life. So when I'm in social environments that aren't making me happy, or they're just not even right for me, I don't have to stay there and try and appease that group of people so that they like me. I can go, well, I'm going to move over here and go and do something that makes me happier. And so that's a big shift. So and another aspect to that is the more I love myself, the more I'm putting better things into my body. So we've already talked about the news media in other podcasts. The news media, you get rid of that and you feel a lot better. Food, you obviously, the better the food I put in, the better I feel. And so with food, for example, when I choose better food, I make better purchasing decisions. So what sort of world do I want for me? I want to have clean food that's healthy and nutritious. So I'm going to go and search that out. So when I spend my money, I'm searching and spending my money with people that provide that. Now, if we all do that, then the world changes, because we're an economic system. The economic system, we blame the system, but it's just reflecting the choices that we make as people.
Yeah, exactly.
We're happy to go and buy that cheapest piece of food and then suffer the health consequences later on, possibly. But if I choose to put my money in a place that's providing nutritious food, I'm hoping that some other people might do that. And so therefore that person has a living, and we have our society improves. And I realise that a government's never going to save me. That's a big one. You always got to change the government. It's the government's fault. The realisation is that the government's only a reflection of what we wanted as a society, what we put in place. So if we're looking for somebody or an organisation to save us, they're not. They can only ever do what society allows them. When I start to make conscious decisions around the food I'm going to eat, the way I'm going to live my life, then the government has to respond to that. And therefore we get a better society because people are actively engaged by the decisions we make. So all that from just learning to love who I am, that's the biggest shift. And I've had a lot of family members say to me that I haven't really changed the way I communicate with people in the world, and the way I speak and stuff hasn't really changed. But what it was just a recognition inside of me that I always had that. And so I've changed inside, therefore I'm happier to and feel more safe in my own mindset of expressing more of who I am.
Mm. Yeah, you know, loving yourself. When I think about that, you know, there's not. I mean, I'm just putting myself in the place of a viewer watching this, and I just kind of want to say, like, there's not like a perfect place to start, you know, because that's going to be different from but for every individual. And loving myself doesn't mean that I need to be more like you, or more like this person, or more like that person. It also doesn't mean that I don't challenge myself to become better. You know, it's finding the balance of saying, well, okay, who am I authentically? Who am I actually? And how can I take personal responsibility to be more compassionate as I authentically am myself. You know, it's not about changing who we are to become a copy of something else, but more like how to grow into our own fullness, you know, recognizing the tendencies that we have and saying, how can they mature so that I'm a more authentic individual. Yeah, I mean, you know, that may be a bit of a tangent on my part, but I've definitely, you know, definitely gone through that process myself of discovering that what I need to do above all else is to genuinely love myself. And that means that I take the responsibility to adjust myself when it's necessary. But also to constantly understand what my strengths are and to utilize those strengths to become a more to be expressing myself more authentically. So
yeah, I think you've raised some good points there, especially the point around everybody has a different starting point. They do.
yeah.
I guess my situation, I mean, I've been trying to find out who I was since I was, I don't know how old. We probably all are. It wasn't until 2012 when I met you and people in Canada that I started to figure out more about why I think certain ways and understood who I was. And then it wasn't until October 2018 when I got diagnosed and went, wow, this is a fundamental shift needed, that I started to really explore. And that's why I decided I didn't know what I was. The funny thing was I spent my life trying to prove to everybody that I got it all figured out, and I wouldn't let anybody inside. And yet the only way I've been able to find happiness and more appreciation for who I am is to let a whole lot of people inside, to see the nasty stuff inside, to see the stuff that's not so pleasant, and to have those arguments with people that I love and blow up and then have to shamelessly go back and say, I'm sorry, because, you know, I didn't mean that, but this is what's going on inside. Because then I realized that it's not, I'm not wrong in what I'm doing, but I have to experience what's really inside of me with no judgment, to be able to see what's there, to be able to do something about it. And that's probably the challenge as to whether people want to go that deep. Do you really want to figure out what's inside of you? Because I know in my own world, I'd spend a whole lifetime trying to prove to people I had it all figured out and had a shell around me. And I did that through my career, through my education, through sports. I did it everywhere in my life. And it wasn't until I went, I don't need all that. And this only happened in the last 12 months or so, that I don't need all that. And even being over here to see how the clinic works and the treatments that I'm doing work and the greater global context of how things work, I'm starting to go, actually, I don't have to prove myself to anybody. I just need to be all of me, because when I'm all of me, my life's going to be fine. Perfect. It's just going to work out how it needs to. And so you've got to be real with yourself. And I had to have help to do that. Jeannine de Vere Hunt has been enormously helpful for me with her kinesiology. Toni Smith, who has been doing some biodetox with me, she has helped me a lot just to comprehend what's going on in my body. And then another guy, Mark Ralph and Barbara Grace, who I met through Landmark, they challenged me on my mindset, and it was tough for me to take. But, without their conversations, I wouldn't have had some revelations that I've had. So just to let people know that there are people that want to help you. You just have to want to help yourself, and that's the biggest thing.
So as you're going now into week 3 of round 2, I guess this week would be like the halfway point of round 2. So is there any changes to the treatment? I mean, as they see this as you're rounding the bases to home, you know, is there anything that's different in the procedures? And is there talk between you and the clinic about, you know, the kind of post treatment and what that's going to look like for you?
No initial discussions yet. That'll come. In terms of the treatments, I know you've asked me this in the past as well. What they like now this time around. I guess the thing is, I'm really comprehending them more this time around. Yeah. And even, I mean, when I first landed back in March, you give them this, and you got to get through that to be able to figure out what's going on with your treatment. And I'm looking back now and go, oh, I missed that, I missed that. But it's just that I'm aware now of where I'm sitting in the treatment. And so therefore I can be a bit more aware of the changes that are going on in my mind. I guess the difference, to probably ask a question you have asked in the past, the difference between this round and the last round is the last round my mind was very busy, making sure I did everything on time and I'm getting all this. Now that I've got that to a point where I understand that and I can do it routinely, I'm starting to get to the real deep emotional stuff inside of me. And also more of an awareness of what my body is doing, which is cool. So it's probably a calmness has come across me, which means that when my comments are with the doctors and stuff, I have probably a bit more insight than I did the first time around. In terms of discussions with them about the future, I suspect that'll happen over the next week or two, because I've still got 3 weeks in the country, and I've still got to go back for cancer panel tests. But I know that certain procedures just have to continue. That is the chelation, eating well, and obviously the emotional work. I'm going to keep working on that, and I've already got some channels to work on that in the future. And the reason why I really want to keep going is that I want my body to be as healthy as it can be, as well as my mind. And through all this treatment, I've got an excitement for life that I didn't have. There's some really cool stuff that I couldn't see in the past. In the past, the riots that are happening in America at the moment, which have only just started in the last couple of days as a result of the police arrest of Charles Floyd, they play an impact. And when you see them on the news, you look at them and listen to the way they broadcast, and I can hear now, because of the way I used to communicate, I can hear now when people are talking from an emotional point that may not be accurate, or it may be one-sided. And I feel for the people that are protesting at the moment. I'm not saying I agree with their actions with looting and rioting and stuff like that, but there's an awareness that the situation we get presented is a lot more complex than what is presented on mainstream news. I wouldn't have seen that in the past. I had a feeling, I would have had a philosophical thought around what those differences are. But now because of my own journey, I have an appreciation of what they are saying. And they're saying they want freedom, they want equality for everybody. And I don't think that's a bad virtue. So anyway, that's a bit off topic, Mark. But it's just, I guess, there's a beauty in that because I see them wanting to make the world a better place. It's their way of doing it. It's not necessarily my preferred approach, but it's not me in that situation. Those people are the ones dealing with it. But I have an appreciation for it that I probably didn't have in the past. And a desire to see a better world, and that requires people to stand up and say what they believe authentically. So a new way of perceiving the world is hugely rewarding and exciting because it means I get to go into friendships, relationships, business dealings, whatever it is, with a new perspective and a new awareness that just brings so much more colour and light to life that I enjoy.
Have you, in the course of your time there, have there been other people receiving treatment the entire time that you have, like people that you've formed relationships with, other patients?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. There's only 1 week where it's just me and Daryl in the clinic, which was pretty exciting because it's just, there was a chance to rest. But yes, no, there are people that have come in and out, and there's a person that I'm going to meet again next week. He's coming back for his second or third round of treatment. And
wow.
It'll be interesting to see what's happened with him over the time, and him to see what's happened with me. And yeah, I've made some relationships with some pretty inspiring people. I love the stories. I love hearing the stories about how these people got to Dr. Bata's clinic. And the stuff, some of the stuff you read, and I guess this is slightly off topic again, but I'll share it anyway. When you meet people, you know things about them that when you hear or see things written about them just aren't true. I have received nothing but love and compassion since I arrived here in North Carolina, from the people in the clinic, but also from the people on the street. There are my appreciation for Americans has changed massively. I guess it's like the Big Brother syndrome. You never hate Big Brother because they have, they want to boss you around and stuff like that. But there are some very genuine people over here that I've had the chance to meet, and that fills me with excitement because I get to see the love they have for their own country in their heart, and it inspires me because I think I have that same love for my own country, and in reality, we all want to see our countries be the best that they can be. So I have met some wonderful people, very wonderful people, and the stuff that I've been reading, the Dr. Joe Dispenza, the Bruce Lipton work, has all given me a vehicle to be able to find how that world can show up in my own life from meeting other people.
Yeah. Is there, do you have any kind of final comments that you'd like to express for this week?
I do. The world, you know what I'm talking about. I'll say this anyway, but you know what I'm talking about, Mark. The world's going through a pretty fundamental shift at the moment in terms of a global situation that has got a lot of uncertainty around it, and a lot of uncertainty around the way forward. And by no means is there a silver bullet to this solution. Through my own life and through my recovery, I've had to look at my underlying beliefs and intents as to how I acted in that, and what was I bringing into my own world. And I'd ask people to maybe do the same thing to themselves, but also apply that to the outside world. What is really going on in terms of going deep about what it means to you as an individual. I say that because we have an opportunity right now to make this world much better for everybody. And we aren't going to get there if we can't see our own motivations as to why we're wanting certain things in place. And I don't want to be responsible for hurting somebody else because of a decision that I made that affected somebody else in a negative way. And I've heard that statement bandied around a lot on the internet and television. and it's being used in a way that promotes a certain agenda. And if there's one thing I've learned about this whole cancer journey, and from meeting a lot of people who have been diagnosed and got through cancer, there is no one journey in terms of this is the answer that you must use because that will get you through it. That's not the way the world works. The people that I've met that have made profound recoveries and changes in their life to heal from the cancer journey, they didn't do what anybody else did because they had to do what was right for them. And that is what I'm asking. Yeah, I am. I'm asking people to do the same thing. Do what's right for you, but don't expect the guy beside you or the woman beside you to have to do exactly the same so that you feel better. Let them do what they need to do for themselves so they can get the best outcome they need, the same way that I need the best outcome that I can get. So that's my final words. Yeah.
Good words. So, hey, thank you so much, Durrick. It's so thrilling. I mean, it really is thrilling for me to follow you virtually, you know, in your progress of healing and transformation. And it's very encouraging for me. So many thanks. And I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Cool. I do too. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.